Hi,
It's cold.
Brian.
Because you feel like you're out on the mountain. It's cold, you know. Now
Hi,
it's kind of warm.
Jimmy.
What's up?
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, Jerry.
Hey,
Hey, I would like to, if you guys don't mind, introduce dear young Alex.
Oh.
I remember, being a young buck. I remember one time I was on a session many years ago, and Steve Nathan, who was a very established veteran keyboard player at the time, said, Tom, you're always asking what it's like to be a A-team session guy. Well, now you is one. I remember that rite of passage. You ever had anybody say that to you, Jerry?
I'm probably in manners of speaking, but I can't remember a specific moment.
Yeah.
It's probably Jimmy.
It was probably Jimmy.
Yeah. Love some Jerry.
Young Alex, he's a very young fellow. How old are you, Alex?
36.
Yeah. In session years, that's very young.
Pretty young.
In trying to be a female pop star, you're ancient.
Yeah, that window is closed.
But what instrument do you play?
I play keyboards.
Right. Would you care to take us into your little lair and show us what you're doing?
Yeah, come on. Come on.
You know that you had the same last name as a guy from Pink Floyd, Richard Wright?
There's a lot of Wrights.
Yeah, the
Orville
guy,
and
Orville and Wilbur.
famously.
Let's go look at your rig.
Come on.
Let's go see what he's got going on here. You know, Alex took all Dave Cohen's gigs. Did you know that?
Dave's working next door. Yeah, we're on a session.
Let's go in here and see what you got cooking. What do you young fellas use on keyboards these days?
Smattering. Lots of software.
Lots of software.
But yeah, come check me out.
I would love to see. You're great at the soundscapes and
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm running kind of my main board here as a Nord stage.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily just using that as a MIDI controller though.
Yeah.
And then for hardware synths, I've got a Prophet Rev 2 and I've got a Mellotron today.
Yeah.
Typically I'll have a Juno in here as well, but for today's artist, I knew that we were going to be more on the organic spectrum.
We're doing some real pop shit today.
Well, we are doing some pop stuff today, which I'm glad.
Lauren Elena, yeah?
Lauren Elena. I'm glad that I have the Prophet for things like that. But typically for her in the past few times, in that era of Lauren that we're currently working on, it's been more of the organic thing. So the Mellotron makes an appearance today.
What about the laptop? What's that for?
Yeah, so I'm running... here,
checking your emails?
Yeah, I'm checking my emails. So you can see here. So this is on this last sound that I have. I'm running pretty much everything into the computer. I'm running Logic as my DAW. And then I'm running Universal Audio console as well.
For all the old white guys that play guitar?
Yes.
What is a DAW?
A DAW is a digital audio workstation.
Right.
So a DAW would be your Logic or your Pro Tools.
Okay.
Anything like that. But yeah, I'm able to kind of run. So the last thing that I was playing was the Mellotron, which I have actually going into Logic, and then I'm able to, put on Sound Choice plugins or different EQs and everything.
Do you use the Omnisphere?
I do use the Omnisphere, so I'm able to use kind of actual audio signal, treat it in real time, and send it out, and then using software instruments as well. Same thing.
What is your viewpoint about this instrument over here? Remember these?
Oh yes, this would be a grande piano. Is it grande?
Grande. Does anybody ever use these anymore?
We do. I feel like it's kind of coming back a bit, and then in the
guy we're working for today does not like piano on any records. He doesn't.
Almost famously does not.
Almost famously does not like it.
Yeah, it would be today on this particular thing. Would not be a good choice, but it's a classic.
It's a classic.
And this is a great one. This is a
great
really
piano.
good one that we have here in Nashville.
And what's
Blackbird.
that wood-looking one behind you? What is that thing?
This is a Hammond organ. This is the B3.
What about that? Would you use that on this session?
I would, and I plan to at some point.
Okay.
I haven't yet. Again, you were saying the first one that we did was a bit on the poppier realm, but the B3 still gets a lot of use today. Piano does as well, but yeah.
How hard is it for a young fella these days? You're 20 years younger than me.
Yeah.
To break into becoming an A-team session player.
It's hard to say. It's always changing, right? It's changed probably from when you started to some of the other guys we're playing with to down to me. So I always say that I feel like I came in through the back door.
Yeah.
I was doing tracking sessions from my house for writers and producers that ended up being pushed and turning into master recordings. And
did you start out as a road guy?
I did, yeah. I did.
When did you move to Nashville?
I moved to Nashville in 2011. Well,
From
really
what
2010.
city? Where'd you grow up?
Washington, D.C. is where I grew up.
Nice.
Born and raised in D.C. And then I went to college in Boston and came down straight after that.
Did you, when you were a young man, did you start playing real young?
I did. I started playing piano, did the whole classical piano training, piano lessons, that whole thing, probably when I was about 5 or 6.
And did you ever have thoughts, I'd like to be a session player? Back in those days?
No, never. I truly didn't. I enjoyed records, but that never entered my world. My parents were not musical. My grandma played piano. My uncle plays piano, but I don't have any professional musicians in my orbit. So no, I didn't know that was even a thing that you could possibly do. I knew that I wanted to play music, but never really had making and playing on records as a pinnacle.
Are you happy with the way your life turned out?
I am. I am.
You don't
I
feel
get
like
to spend
this...
it with guys like you know. The bulk majority of our day is in the throes of music creating
pop
music with some greats.
Yeah,
you know?
Pop music. Did you have to start out like I did doing terrible sessions?
Yeah, I think that's a rite of passage.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting when you start, you think, well, of course I can do this.
Ugh.
And you think I'm just as good as anyone else doing this. Why can't I do it to that level? And I think
and then you learn.
Those repetitions are so important.
Yes.
So important.
Did you used to have to do crappy demos of people's home studios?
Absolutely. Did my fair share of those. Still do my fair share of those. You know.
When did you start thinking, man, I'm actually kicking some ass and I'm really getting on some big shit? How long ago?
I mean, a handful of years ago. It's funny again too. Going back to what I was saying, it's like I felt like I was an intruder a little bit, just because I was playing on #1 songs, but couldn't get on a demo session with actual cats. You know, I was playing at home, doing my own thing, sending it off to the producer who'd written the song, and started to kind of get my foot in the door that way. So for a long time, it felt so backwards, where it was like I literally was playing on #1s, but felt like I couldn't break into the scene even still.
In your experience, on any given instrument, how many guys deep does the chair go? That's. I'm not asking for any names. I'm just saying, how many drummers are there really on the session scene?
It depends. Obviously, there's so many different circles, but you know, it's 3 to 5.
Okay.
At the tippy top, I would say.
Wouldn't you? Yeah. Like you said, there are different circles. Like, but like for really commercial super pop stuff,
I would say for that, probably on the lower end of that. I would say it's 3 or 4.
Would you say that same for bass?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
It's about that for every chair.
About that for every chair.
I feel like there may be a few more pickers.
Some of us have to work. Some of us have actual careers to maintain.
Yeah,
you know, you say pickers and they just show up.
Exactly.
You know? Everyone's willing to put a part on it.
Throw a rock in Nashville and you're going to hit a picker.
That's right. So yeah, I feel like there's a few more. Obviously, with being acoustic and electric, and then some sessions will require multiple electric players.
You know who the first guy that ever told me about you was? One of the established guys that said that guy's pretty good.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Is it bass player?
Yeah.
Is it Tony Lucido?
Yeah. He was like, you should try this guy. He's good. And now, do you watch the Homeskoolin program?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I do. So I told you this earlier.
Well, the camera, the storage got full, so I had to restart. Yes. So I think my last question was, you're a family man, yeah?
Yes.
Kids?
Yes, 2 kids.
2 kids.
I have a 5-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl. Right. So
You know, I don't get this as much anymore, but when I was in my late 30s, I was playing on lots of shit, not nearly as much these days. But at that age, in my late 30s, I was getting phone calls, emails, texts from people constantly saying, "Dude, can I buy you lunch? I'd love to pick your brain."
Yeah.
They always say, "Pick your brain."
Yeah.
And basically what they mean by that is I want to take your job. And I want to steal any bit of advice from you that I can so I can
Sure.
take your job. How do you handle those calls?
With grace, I hope.
Yeah. Do you tell them to fuck off?
No,
basically?
I don't. And here's why. Because I've been on the other side of so many of those.
Right. Have you ever called a man and said, "I'd like to pick your brain"?
I have. I definitely have. And I can tell you, I've done it with Dave Cohen, and I've done it with David Dorn, and I've done it with, you know, a lot of the people who we get to work with on a day in and day out basis.
Yeah.
Because it's so valuable.
Yeah.
The information is so valuable.
Were they nice to you when you asked them?
Beyond nice.
Okay.
Beyond nice.
Have you ever sought advice from somebody that gave you the total cold shoulder that just shined you on?
Off of the top of my head, I can't think of someone, but
Okay.
I mean, surely it has. And
When
whether it was purposeful or not, you know, you're obviously approaching someone who has a lot of work on their plate. So, you know, inevitably there's going to be a few that maybe don't happen because it slips through the cracks.
Of all of the players, fellow session players, who has done the most to help your career?
Man, that's really difficult to say. For session player wise, I mean, again, it's kind of the people who you end up playing with the most. Tony was definitely one of those guys that I played with kind of earlier on. I just happened to be linked up with producers that he was working with. Right. But you know, we all kind of lift each other up when something changes or something good happens. I mean, you want it to keep going, right?
Do you think Dave Cohen secretly hates you for stealing all his gigs?
I hope not. I love Dave. He knows that. So, Dave is.
Well, he's a producer now, anyway. He's a producer now.
Well, he's a producer. He's a writer. He's a multi-talented guy. Yeah. He's a professional race car driver. I'm pretty sure. So, you know, he has just an immense level of talent that there's no shortage of places for him to show up and utilize it.
I remember when I was a young man, a couple guys, Bruce Boughton, Mike Brindello, and a few other guys were very helpful to me. They got me on a lot of gigs. Yeah. I've tried to return the favor. Ilya Tuchinski always says that I got him on so many gigs in the old days that I bought him a wing of his house. Yeah. He always brings that up. Yeah. And I've tried, you know, I've tried to help a lot of people. Have you ever?
Ilya is on that list as well. I mean, I know you mentioned his demo circuit. That was
a learning experience.
A great learning experience and just an outlet to have work consistently while learning and playing on good stuff. You know,
when I was coming up, and I was being a bit younger than you are now, breaking in the scene, most people were pretty cool with me, but. Yeah, there was a few guys who were total douchebags, and they did not want to see a young guy come in. Have you had experiences like that? I'm not asking for names.
No, I can tell you one. It's less what you're saying, and there's that intimidation factor. Right. I've had it with you, man.
Really?
I've had it with you. No Some of the first sessions I've played, because you know, once you start in this world. The people who are doing it at a high level and have done it at a high level for such a long time, it's hard for you to go in and do your thing amongst people like that without kind of stepping on the toes of the people around you who have done it a long time, right? So early on, I don't feel it as much anymore because we have a rapport. We kind of know. Yeah. I know more now what you're going to do. You know more now what I'm going to do. In the beginning, there's this mystery of like, oh, what's about to happen? Right. You know. Right.
Well, I was never rude to you, was I?
No, you were never rude to me ever.
Right. Well, if I was, I apologize.
No, not in the least. I'm not calling you out on your own channel.
Well, it could happen.
I'm just saying that it's the nature of the beast.
It is, and you got to prove yourself in here, man.
You do. You definitely do.
We all, if one man is not doing his job, this ship is going down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And man, sometimes I feel like if I'm on a session with a guy who's not cutting it, man, I want to go in there and snap his little neck.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been there because
Yes.
it also makes you look bad.
It does, man. So I remember some of the good old boys in the early days did not want. I remember being hired on a Travis Tritt record one time when I was very young, and some of the older guard country guys did not like some kid from Cleveland coming in there.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It's an eye-opening experience, like the way they just give you the cold shoulder, like fuck this guy, you know. But it's like NFL's like that. Everything's like that.
Yeah.
You know, you get initiated, right?
Absolutely.
Is there any hope for the future with AI and young kids breaking into the session world?
I hope so.
Yeah. If you were having if your son, you said you have a son.
Mm-hmm.
If he was wanting to be a session man when he grows up, what would you tell him?
I'd be all for it.
Okay.
I'd be all for it.
You don't
Still.
think you don't think that we're basically you don't think we're going to become like the horse and buggy?
I don't think so. Not yet. I haven't seen anything that makes me worried in that aspect.
Where do you see yourself in the future? You're going to produce records, write songs? What are you going to do?
It's hard to say. I'm really happy doing what I'm doing now. Again, I still, in a lot of ways, feel like the young guy. I'm still learning. Still kind of, in some rooms, cutting my teeth.
Right.
But it's just been so fun to just get in and make records at a high level. Again, and so much of that is working with producers. Look,
there's the guy whose job you're taking.
Yeah.
Right there.
Well, he's here, so
he's there.
Maybe
now.
he's taking my job. Actually, he could be here to replace me.
Yeah, and it was good working with him, though. I will say I enjoyed working with him. You know. So okay.
I was gonna say too, just getting to work with different producers and learning the ins and outs of what different people like and what they don't like, and kind of molding yourself and your tendencies to fit different things.
Right.
It's a challenge. It's a moving target, but in the best way.
Sit your 36-year-old ass down at the piano real quick, and then I'm gonna leave you alone. Okay.
Okay.
If I said it changes every day, every minute.
Yeah.
But if I said play an intriguing chord voicing, what would you play?
Oh, an intriguing chord voicing.
Like, where's your head at?
Well, it's got to resolve, right? There's your resolve. But I'll get fired for playing that.
You ever used the damper pedal on the piano?
Yeah, of course. Especially too, in this day and age, especially with these pianos, right? So we have a lot of these C7s in the studio, and they're very bright, right? They do an amazing thing, which is they can speak a lot, but in 2025, sometimes that is not a great thing. Right. So yeah, a damper pedal can really help to mellow it out.
Make it more hipster sounding.
That's right.
Yeah, because we love hipster piano.
That's right.
Hipster piano is very hot right now.
It's very hot right now, and continues to be.
Yeah. So what is a I could, in guitar world, I mean, I think of this weekly, but what are some modern cliches you're hearing in the keyboard department on records that you've had enough of, that you wish would go away?
Piano bombs.
Piano bomb. Show them what a piano bomb is.
You're very prototypical.
When you
heavy-handed,
thicken up a chorus behind the guitars. With
that's right. Usually playing diamonds along with the chord changes.
Right.
You're
sick of that.
I think a lot of people are sick of that.
Yeah, sick of that. Although it is very effective.
It is very effective.
On the track.
And most cliches are.
Most cliches are very effective.
That's why they become cliches.
What is a? Can you tell that piano's out of tune just by? I could tell it was out of tune just by doing what you just did. Play it again. That C note. That first C didn't sound right to me.
Yeah, well, I'm also, you're slamming it. So, but yeah.
Yeah. What are some things in the keyboard world that you would like to see more of?
Keyboard-driven songs. I feel like
Yes.
have become a rarity in the country genre, but are, dominating still in the pop realm. I would love more of that. No offense to yourself,
No,
but
yeah.
you've had a few cracks at it.
Oh Lord. Are you saying piano driven or just keyboard driven?
More keyboard driven,
Yeah.
not piano ballads, right? So that's like the prototypical keyboard driven tune in this world would be
Don't
that.
run off.
Typical.
Don't run off.
Prototypical.
Is this English class?
Yeah,
it could be.
I was just saying. I asked him what are some keyboard
You
cliches
put
that.
the pro in prototypical.
Oh, I know he did.
And the typical.
So
Mostly
now,
the typical.
Mostly the typical.
I would say still, Brian, would you agree with this? And then I'll leave. This is quick. We're almost done. I remember Tim Lauer saying, he's another session keyboard player.
Yeah.
He would say years ago, man, this is a guitar town.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to be a keyboard player in this town, you got to learn how to play with guitars.
That's right.
Is it still that way?
I do feel that way. It's changed. There's
Yeah.
obviously a lot more synths and sounds more from the computer side of things, but that hasn't changed. It's just a little bit of it has differed from maybe what that question was in
20 years ago.
2005.
Right.
Yeah.
What are some things, this might be my last question, I'll leave it alone. I know we got shit to do.
No.
What are some things that you have to avoid as a keyboard player when you're trying to play with guitar players without pissing guitar players off?
How do you tell a guitarist that he's out of tune without telling him he's out of tune?
You play louder. It's interesting, right? It's textures, it's tone a little bit, it's where in the register you're playing, right? But there's two sides of that coin, because at the same time, I could link up with something that you're doing and double it,
Right.
and we could be in a similar register, but I could just add a little color, so it comes across on the final product as one thing, but really it's kind of these two things put together that makes it sound like, oh, that's not your typical guitar, or hey, that's not your typical keyboard. So all rules are meant to be broken. That's really the
when
thing.
you're on a piano, what other instrument are you most likely to piss off?
I mean, it's the guitar. I mean, well, and bass.
Right.
If I'm getting too low, especially the piano bombs, like what I was just showing you.
Yes. What about when you're playing low synth shit with the bass players? They hate that.
They do. I mean, you heard I played a low synth on the last song, and Jimmy Lee Sloas immediately acted like I was doing something great. But I know what that actually meant was, hey, Bubba, you're coming down to my hurts right now.
Exactly. There's so much hidden inside shit, isn't it?
There is, and it all comes across with a smile, which is great. But I mean, there's always going to be that, but sometimes it can work together and sometimes it doesn't. But that's right.
So they call you
question.
Blue Eyes because you're a good-looking young man. That's your nickname.
Yeah, that is a Jimmy Lee Sloas original.
Is it?
And that has stuck, especially in this camp.
Yeah.
In the Joey Moy camp.
Yes,
I am forever known as Blue Eyes here.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, I'll leave you alone now. But thanks for being part of the pro. Is there anything you want to say to the homeschooling audience?
Hello, I'm a fan myself, so I'll probably be watching this, critiquing every little point that I made or didn't make. But Tom, you're a light, man, and we appreciate you doing it. Thank you for very impromptu.
Yeah, totally unrehearsed.
Yeah, totally unrehearsed. I did not know this was happening, but all of a sudden we're doing this segment.
I just accosted you out of nowhere on a lunch break.
Yeah.
And there you go. Thanks for playing along.
Hey, thanks for having me on the program.
All right, buddy. Great.